I really appreciate that introduction, Mr. Peterson. I'm sorry, I know that's Dave Gergen. The funny thing about, let me just say that the funny thing about politics is you realize that when you're running for office, I ran against an incumbent and I had never run for office before, and quite frankly, I don't hold most politicians in high esteem. I was a prosecutor most of my career, and it's funny how when you run against an incumbent, you have very few friends, but then once you become elected, everyone now claims me as their friend. But I will say indeed that Dave was there from the very, very beginning, and I do appreciate everything you do, Dave. Also, I don't know if Alberto walked out. Oh, he's still there. I wanted to make sure I thanked Alberto because my schedule's been crazy this week. It's been crazy today. And Alberto agreed to help step up, talk to you a little bit about some of the issues dealing with distracted driving and what the state of Arizona is doing. And I just want to thank Alberto. And I will say that he's a very humble person because he really has served the state for a long time so incredibly well. And one of the reasons why I think Alberto and I get along and we connect in so many ways is because Alberto's family had fled communism in Cuba, and my family, my ancestors, my mom, whether she's still alive, my family fled communism in Eastern Europe. And I think when your roots or your family comes from that experience, it becomes very ingrained in you at an early age how important liberty and freedom really are. And it's something that I think when your family's experienced it, you never take it for granted. And I always remind people that one of the things about liberty and freedom, entrepreneurship, it's not something that we're born with. It's not a genetic characteristic. Frankly, when the United States was created and the Constitution was adopted, it was a historical anomaly. But this experiment worked, and as Ben Franklin famously proclaimed, it's a republic if you can keep it. And so I've always believed that it's really important for us that we all have an obligation to pass down those traditions and that respect for freedom, that respect for entrepreneurship, that respect for the Constitution, because it's something that really does make this country great. When you think about it, the Soviet Union, if you go pull up the Constitution of the Soviet Union from the 70s, from the 80s, there's all sorts of rights in that Constitution. If you read the statutes that Hugo Chavez had in Venezuela, all sorts of rights and protections, press and speech and everything else, beautiful words, but they meant nothing. Because they were just meaningless words on paper. But what makes our country different and so unique is the fact that the rule of law means something, that those aren't just mere words on paper, that they are indeed something that we have an obligation to carry on and to pass on to others. Hopefully I didn't spark a fight in the hallway out there. Those to the lone remaining communists in the world, I hope I did not offend you. But I will say that when I was coming here today, I wasn't sure what I should say because I knew that Alberto was going to talk a little bit and highlight some of the issues related to drowsiness and the effect that it has on our society and safety. And obviously, being someone in the public safety realm, it's important that we do everything we can to be proactive in keeping our community safe. And I know there's a lot of folks here from a lot of different states and jurisdictions, but here in Arizona, the Attorney General, we do everything from, we've successfully prosecuted terrorism cases as part of the Joint Terrorism Task Force, to providing, being involved in litigation against the overreach of the federal government, to having an agency counsel division that provides advice to the dental board and to various medical boards here in the state of Arizona. And I always tell our lawyers that our most important job, we should never ever be picking winners and losers in the marketplace. Our highest priority, always as the Attorney General's office, is to ensure that justice is done. And one of the things that I did in our office is I put reminders of signs, slogans, from Martin Luther King to other Theodore Roosevelt, Abraham Lincoln, Gandhi, people throughout history that spoke eloquently, much more eloquently than I can, about how important justice is in the world. And so whenever we have new attorneys or new folks come in, our office has more than 350 lawyers, more than 1,000 employees. I always remind them that we aren't State Farm, we're not Allstate, we're the state of Arizona. And that means we can never count our success in terms of wins or losses. It's always going to have to be whether justice is done or not. And so our office is committed to that, and we've been committed to protecting Arizona consumers. One of the things that Dave did not mention in his introduction was that I am very proud of. One of the proudest awards I'd received since I've been AG was the National Federation of Independent Businesses gave me their annual award for being a champion of the taxpayer. And that was because our office was involved. There's been these serial lawsuits going on all over the country. 60 Minutes even did a story on it, where plaintiffs' lawyers will use the ADA, they'll file a frivolous lawsuit, and they'll ask businesses for $5,000 or $7,500, $10,000 sometimes, because of technical infractions. Sometimes a sign may be 4 or 5 inches too low. Sometimes the sign may not have the magic words van accessible on it, et cetera, et cetera. And we had gotten several complaints in our office about this, but I had spoken to a gentleman had received one of these letters saying that his sign was improperly placed. It was 4 or 5 inches too low. So what did he do? What many of the folks in this room that are business owners operating small businesses do, he went, I did not know that it was supposed to be that many inches tall, and he raised the sign 4 extra inches. The lawyer's response, now you owe me $10,000 because you've wasted more of my time. And at that moment I realized this was a shakedown. So our office, first state AG's office, the entire country, we actually intervened in every one of those cases. So in more than 1,200 cases, our office filed a motion to intervene, and I'm going to spare you all the details of what plaintiffs' lawyers do and their litigation strategy, but ultimately we got the cases consolidated, we've got all of the cases dismissed, and right now we're in the process of trying to get sanctions against the plaintiff's law firm. And I thought it was important because we were protecting not only small businesses, but I think that we are fighting against people that were actually undermining the rule of law and using it in the judicial system in a way that, quite frankly, I think reduced the public's confidence in the legal system. So anyway, though, that's just like one example of some of the stuff we're doing, and I appreciate that. Thank you. I don't know if Dave's standing here because I need to get off the stage. It's happy hour or something like that. I don't know.
It'll be at 5.
Oh, okay. So it's he said it's 5 o'clock somewhere.
Somewhere it's 5.
Well, I will just tell you that, like I said, I just wanted to welcome everyone here to Arizona. I know that there's folks from out of state. There's also folks from here, Arizona. I appreciate all the work you do, and I will tell you, I don't see my dentist here because I'm supposed to go in there and get a tooth fixed, but Gus Nobilis is
Gus, good man.
He's a great man, great dentist, and I only see him a couple times a year, but I feel like I have a great relationship with him, and I really obviously oral hygiene, oral care is so important, and obviously getting a great night's sleep is also very, very important. And I think they say, what's the saying? He who snores loudest sleeps best, or something like that, or is it? I don't know what they say. No, is that's the wrong saying? Yes.
That's the wrong saying.
Yeah, we'll just. I guess I was going to make a joke too, but I guess you really want me off the stage. But
Go ahead.
What is the joke? What do they say? What's the difference between a dentist's waiting room and hell?
I don't know.
The magazines are newer in hell,
yeah.
but they.
That's true.
No, I'm sorry. I just insulted. See, I'm so bad at politics. I think I just insulted everyone in this room. I apologize. But in all sincerity, thank you for everything you do. And Dave, thank you for inviting me.
Thank you, Mark.
Thank you, Alberto, for saying some words. And so I really appreciate it. Thanks.
Take care.
Thanks.
Arizona's Attorney General, Mark Brvonich. Thank you.
Thanks, Dave.